Hello everyone, welcome to the class. Today we are going to see this topic photosynthesis. So if we try to understand the word photosynthesis is a combination of two words. So what are the two words? The photosynthesis is combination of two words, that is photo and synthesis, right? Photo means what? We know that photo stands for light and synthesis stands for the production, right? To synthesize. So photosynthesis, if we define photosynthesis, it is a process by which green plants and photosynthetic bacteria converts light energy into chemical energy. So they utilize the light energy and change the light energy into chemical energy, right? Which is later used to fuel cellular activities. The chemicals stored in the form of sugar, which are created from water and carbon dioxide. So if I define photosynthesis, this is basically what normally if I define photo, that means light, right? Photo means light. So light energy is being converted into chemical energy, right? So in the presence of light, chemical energy, right? So in the presence of light, the green plants and photosynthetic bacteria like purple sulfur bacteria, green sulfur bacteria, cyanobacteria, they utilize the light energy and convert it into chemical energy, right? So the light, this chemical energy is now stored in the cell in the form of sugar, that is glucose, right? Which are created, this glucose are created from carbon dioxide and water. So in simple terms, if we want to understand photosynthesis, it is basically the process by which the plants utilize light energy and produce sugar. Clear everyone? So photo stands for light, synthesis means to produce, right? So by the utilization of light energy, the green plants and this photosynthetic bacteria are able to produce sugar, right? So this process we call it photosynthesis. If you see this reaction, this is carbon dioxide, water, right? It is being changed to sugar and oxygen in the presence of sun energy and chlorophyll. So this basically is done by green plants, cyanobacteria, then purple and green sulfur bacteria, purple and green sulfur bacteria, right? So this is the mechanism. You can see light energy is being converted into chemical energy, which is in the form of sugar by utilization of carbon dioxide, water, right? So photosynthesis is also used by algae to convert solar energy into chemical energy. So it is also used by algae. Algae is multicellular eukaryotic organism. Photosynthesis occurs when plants use light energy to convert carbon dioxide and water into glucose and oxygen, right? Leaves contain microscopic cellular organelles known as chloroplast. If you see, if I draw this leaf here, and if suppose this part I want to show you here, so how it looks like, it contains some cells, some sort of cells like this, and inside the cells if you see, it looks like it contains like this type of organelle which is double membrane, and inside that you can see some like this type of structures, right? And this is what we call chloroplast. This is chloroplast, and photosynthesis takes place in this organelle called chloroplast. Mechanism of photosynthesis we will be looking in our upcoming class. So today in this class we will be discussing about the requirements. What is photosynthesis? What are the pigments required for photosynthesis? This we will be discussing in this class. Now, each chloroplast contains a green colored pigment called chlorophyll. So, every chloroplast I have shown you in green color so that you can remember it. Why it is green color? Because it contains a pigment called chlorophyll. So, you should be very clear. Plast is a organelle. Chloroplast is what? It is a organelle. But chlorophyll is what? Chlorophyll is your pigment, right? Yes. Now, light energy is absorbed by chlorophyll molecules, whereas carbon dioxide and oxygen enter through the tiny pore of stomata located in the epidermis of the leaf. So, if I draw the leaves here to make you understand, if this is a leaf here, then what is happening? See, this sunlight is coming. I will show you sunlight coming from the light is coming from the sun. So this is sunlight, right? So see, light energy is absorbed. You can see this statement, light energy is absorbed by chlorophyll molecule, whereas carbon dioxide and water. Now let's come to carbon dioxide and water. These both enter the leaf through your stomata. Through your what? Through your enters through stomata, right? And this sunlight is absorbed by chlorophyll, right? So this sunlight is absorbed by chlorophyll, carbon dioxide and water enters the leaf through stomata, through the tiny pores of the stomata, which is located on the surface. The surface we call epidermis is basically the surface of this leaf, right? So this is what is the photosynthesis, right? Another byproduct of photosynthesis is sugar such as glucose and fructose. So if what is the product or what is the byproduct of photosynthesis? The byproduct of photosynthesis is sugar, but in some cases it may be oxygen or may not be oxygen. If it is oxygen, we call it oxygenic photosynthesis, and if it is non-oxygenic, sugar plus, if it is not, if oxygen is not liberated, then we call it anoxygenic photosynthesis, right? So this sugar, once the sugar is formed, this sugar is then sent to the roots, stems, leaves, fruits, flowers and seeds. So from the leaves it is being sent to the other parts of the plant. The sugar molecule that combine with each other to form more complex carbohydrate like cellulose and starch. The cellulose is considered as the structural material that is used in the plant cell. Clear? So now this sugar molecule will group together and form a very, this is simple sugar, right? Now when this sugar join with each other, they will form a very complex substance, right? And this complex substance are used as a structural material for the synthesis of plant cell wall. So if you say this plant, to make you explain about the photosynthesis, if you see here, this is a green plant, right? Why it is looking green? Because I told you it is having a pigment called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is your what? It is your pigment. And where it is present? It is present in chloroplast. What is chloroplast? Chloroplast is your organelle, right? So here it is green because of the presence of chlorophyll. Now you can see this light energy. This light energy is, yes, coming from the sunlight, and it is absorbed by chlorophyll. Green color pigment called chlorophyll, right? Now this is carbon dioxide and water. Water will be entered from this, the root absorb the water, and carbon dioxide is absorbed by the leaves. How? Through stomata. Stomata is having a very tiny pores, and this is, see here, this is carbon dioxide entering into the leaf, right? So what they are doing now? Light energy, carbon dioxide and water. You can see light energy, carbon dioxide and water. They use these products to synthesize sugar. You can see this is the product, C6H12O6. This is your sugar product, right? It is being synthesized, sugar. Now this sugar is transported to other parts of the leaf. See here, it is coming towards the root, going towards the root, sugar, right? Now what will happen? Some sugar will group together to form a complex molecule such as starch, and this is your starch, right? Sugar storage organ. Clear, everyone? So this is how the photosynthetic mechanism takes place, and these are being eaten by the higher organism. Clear, everyone? Now, photosynthesis is of two types, oxygenic and anoxygenic photosynthesis. If we see oxygenic photosynthesis, you can say there is an elimination of oxygen, right? But if you see anoxygenic photosynthesis, this is anoxygenic photosynthesis, see there is absence of oxygen, there is no oxygen, absence of O2. So that's why we call anoxygenic, an absence of oxygen, right? So reaction, you can say carbon dioxide, water, light energy forms sugar and water. Here carbon dioxide, water, light energy form carbohydrate and water, absence of oxygen, right? So this is, there is two types of photosynthesis process, oxygenic and anoxygenic. Oxygenic, oxygen is liberated out, but in anoxygenic there is no liberation of oxygen. So here I have given a difference between the oxygenic and anoxygenic photosynthesis. Oxygenic photosynthesis is the photosynthesis that occurs in plants, algae and cyanobacteria, in which the final electron acceptor is water. So where does oxygenic photosynthesis takes place? You can say this oxygenic photosynthesis is taking place where it is taking place? It is taking place in plants, algae, right, and cyanobacteria. And what is the final acceptor? Water. I will tell you. What is final acceptor? Acceptor means whenever the light energy falls on the leaf, chlorophyll absorbs it, so the chlorophyll becomes excited and release out electron. This electron keeps on moving. This electron keeps on moving from one electron acceptor to another. So what will happen now? Ultimately there will be a final acceptor of electron. So in case of oxygenic photosynthesis, this final acceptor is your water molecule, right? But let's move to anoxygenic photosynthesis. It is a photosynthesis which is used by certain bacteria like purple sulfur bacteria, right? Oxygen, green sulfur bacteria, and here oxygen is not liberated out. Occurs in plants, cyanobacteria, algae, and this is occur in green sulfur, non-sulfur bacteria, purple bacteria, acidobacteria, and heliobacteria. Now, in case of oxygenic photosynthesis, there is an involvement of both PS1 and PS2. What is PS1, PS2? I will be explaining you in detail in the process of photosynthesis. But you, for the timing, you should know that photosystem, PS, that is your photosystem, is how many types? Two types. What are the two types? PS1, photosystem 1, and photosystem 2. This photosystem 1 and 2 both are present in case of oxygenic photosynthesis. But if I talk about anoxygenic, it is only photosystem 1, 2 absent. Clear? Water is the electron source. Here hydrogen sulfide or ferrous ion serve as the electron donor. Oxygen is produced in the light reaction. Oxygen is not produced in the light reaction. So this is what is about the oxygenic and anoxygenic photosynthesis. Now let's move to the factors affecting photosynthesis. The factors which affect photosynthesis are your light intensity, obviously, because light is needed by the green plant for photosynthesis. If the rate of light is increased, the photosynthesis will also increase, right? So you can say increased light intensity results in higher rate of photosynthesis. On the other hand, the low light intensity results in a low rate of photosynthesis. If you eat food, if you eat your food like breakfast, you will get energy, yes, and if you skip your breakfast, there will be no energy, right? Similarly, if light is more, photosynthesis will be high, and if light is less, photosynthesis will be less. That's it. Concentration of carbon dioxide. Higher concentration of carbon dioxide helps in increasing the rate of photosynthesis. Obviously, carbon dioxide is also needed. I have shown you the reaction here. Here also is the reaction. Carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, energy, right? So here you can see, so here if carbon dioxide is more, then what will happen? The rate of photosynthesis will be high. For temperature, for efficient execution of photosynthesis, it is important to have a temperature range between 25 to 35 degrees centigrade. Above it, it may cause some damage to the photosynthetic protein like D1, D2. Okay, moving to water. Water is an important factor in photosynthesis. The deficiency of water can lead to problems in the intake of carbon dioxide, right? The scarcity of water, the stomata has got, so if you see stomata, if I draw the structure of stomata, it is something, this is guard cell, this we call it guard cells, and this is we call stomata. Now stomata is open, right? And if the stomata is closed, in this case it is closed. So opening and closing of stomata is regulated by amount of water. So scarcity of water leads to refusal of stomata opening. When water is more, what will happen? These cells swells up. When they swells up, there is a formation of pore here. That is what we call stomata opening. But if the amount of water is less, they cannot swell up, right? So here what will happen? They remain closed. Clear? And if the pollution rate is higher, then what will happen? The leaf, if this is the leaf, there will be a pollutants on the surface of a leaf which may block the pores of stomata. So if pollutants are more, the pollutants may accumulate here and block the stomata, right? So here these are the factors which play important role in photosynthesis. Next, photosynthetic pigment. If we talk about the photosynthetic pigments, it is, you can see here, plant pigment, photosynthetic pigment, and there are some protective pigments which protect the plant from the which play role under protection. If you see a photosynthetic pigment, it is chlorophyll and carotenoids, right? Chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, and carotenoids is of two types, xanthophyll, carotene. What is the difference between xanthophyll and carotene? Here oxygen is present and here oxygen is absent. That's it. Xanthophyll is having oxygen, carotene is not having oxygen. So this is all about plant pigment. Here also I have taken this slide from here. Photosynthetic pigment principal means which play a major role. Accessory means this all will help this pigment to absorb the light. Am I clear to everyone? Principal means what? These are those pigments which absorb the main sunlight. And accessory means what? They are the pigments which basically helping the principal pigment to absorb more light. Principal pigment is a chlorophyll A and bacteriochlorophyll in case of bacteria. Chlorophyll A in case of plants. Accessory pigments are chlorophyll B, C, D, carotenoids, phycobilins, right? Carotenoids is of two types, carotene and xanthophyll. In xanthophyll, oxygen is present, and in carotene, oxygen is absent. Phycobilins is of two types, phycoerythrin and phycocyanin. Phycoerythrin is red in color, phycocyanin is brown in color, right? So that is all about your photosynthetic pigments. Now let's move to a quick summary of the class, what we have discussed today. We have discussed what? We have discussed about the photosynthesis. So if I tell you photosynthesis, that means what? Photo means light plus synthesis means to produce, right? So we can say this means what? This is a process utilized by green plants, process utilized by green plants and bacteria to produce sugar from carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight. In the presence of sunlight. So your reaction will be how it will be? It will be something like this. carbon dioxide plus water, it forms sugar C6H12O6 plus oxygen, and it is in the presence of sunlight. This equation is not balanced, you need to balance it. So if oxygen is out, we call it oxygenic photosynthesis, and if there is no oxygen, if oxygen absent, what we call this? We call this anoxygenic photosynthesis. If I draw a plant here to make you understand the concept, now you can see here, everyone. So what is this? The sunlight, uh, this is suppose sun. So the sunlight, who will absorb the sunlight? The sunlight will be absorbed by chlorophyll. Sunlight absorbed by chlorophyll, right? Now this chlorophyll is present in the leaf, chloroplast of the leaf, chlorophyll, right? Now what will happen next? There will be entry of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide will move inside the plant with the help of what? With the help of stomata, right? And water will be, roots absorb water, right? So this water will move up, and they both, sunlight, carbon dioxide, water, now combine together to produce a sugar. And that sugar, you can see, if this is a fruit here, this is a fruit here, this is, you can see, this is a sugar, complex sugar that came out, fruit. You can see this is something we call fruit, which is nothing but sugar stored in the form of fruit that is being eaten up by the other higher organism. So this is what we have seen, the photosynthesis. Apart from this, let me compile it on one slide so that it becomes easy for you to remember. Next, we have seen the photosynthetic pigments. Photosynthetic pigments. If we talk about the photosynthetic pigment, there is two types of pigment. What are the two types of pigment? Two types of pigments are your principal pigment, principal pigment, and your accessory pigment, right? So what is principal pigment? What is your principal pigment? What is your principal pigment? Yes, your principal pigment is what? Principal pigment is your chlorophyll A and bacteriochlorophyll. And what is your accessory pigment? Accessory pigment is your chlorophyll B, C, D, carotene, xanthophyll, phycoerythrin, and phycocyanin. Phycoerythrin and phycocyanin. So this is what we have studied in today's class, right? I think it is clear to all of you. If you have any doubts, please feel free to ask. And the next class, we will be dealing with the mechanism of photosynthesis. Let me tell you in detail about, in a brief about this. If we talk about the photosynthesis process, it is of two types. One is light dependent and another is light independent. Photosynthesis process is divided into two parts, light dependent and light independent, which we will be looking in our upcoming class. And thank you so much, students, for watching this session. If you have any doubt, please feel free to ask. Thank you once again. Bye bye. Take care.